All right, we're going to do something that's a little unusual. Often I don't read community posts. We're going to give it a try. The rise and fall of Roy Lee and a warning to the recruiting industry. Now, if you don't know who Roy Lee is, just to catch everybody up, that was the guy that did the whole cheat on anything, also did the whole cheat on leak code thing. Everybody should be familiar enough with his work, with his operations. He was the one at Columbia Engineering. I think everybody knows by now. Okay, good. After the leaked code revelation, the fall of Chungin Lee Roy was evident. First, he got suspended from Columbia University, and then a few techies proved that his so-called AI tool was made using open source of other software. Now, I guess I should probably preface this before I say this. I don't think there was a downfall of this Roy Lee fella. My sneaking suspicion is that he's probably sold more product and has made more money than most people will on Earth, and he's probably in the top very high percentage. And using other people's open source software, in fact, does not mean you've cheated. It just means you're a standard, regular tech company. So, okay, Lee's popularity didn't come out of nowhere. It struck a nerve with thousands of candidates frustrated by outdated, high-pressure coding interviews, especially those focused on algorithmic problems that rarely reflect actual day-to-day work. Unpopular opinion, I actually don't think they're that bad of an interview process. You have to have an interview process of some sort. Often people index into take-homes. Take-homes are way more favorable for people that don't have kids, people that have more free time. Then you try to do group working projects. You have to be able to have someone bring in a computer, make sure that their environment is actually matching the employee environment, and do something. Companies that just hand somebody a laptop is insane. If somebody handed me a laptop and said, "Hey, do this," I'd say no. I'm not going to work on your thing. That's not how I work. I'm not going to do an interview on something that I don't use. And so it's what is the proper way to do an interview? I still on a more senior individual, just ask them about projects and see how far they can go on whatever project, even if I don't know anything about it. But at the end of the day, if I don't know the person, I know nothing about the person, a really simple test is hey, can you write a for loop? Okay, you can write a for loop. Can you walk a tree? Okay, you can walk a tree. Okay, that's 80% of things you're going to need to do at your job. I think you're competent enough to do basic programming. Now, let's try to find out more things about you. So this whole high-pressure whiteboard situation, I understand where it came from. I'm not necessarily arguing against it. The situation exposed a growing trust gap between candidates and employers. Roy, his name's Roy, exploited that gap where candidates feel like they're being set up to fail. So they turned to tools to level the field. By the way, I don't think you're being set up to fail in this. I think this is one of these weird parts that has happened, and I'm not sure exactly how it's happened. There's very few interviews that are just all right, this is what we're going to do. I'm going to set up an interview where you're either going to walk a tree, walk a graph, walk a linked list, or do something with arrays. There's going to be websites devoted to all the previous questions that have ever been asked. We will ask a question that is likely either on that website or in the book, Cracking the Coding Interview, and you might have to do a bit of recursion, and then we'll pay you hundreds of thousands of dollars. At least that's the American experience. So I always was a bit kind of surprised at how much angst people have against this. Maybe it's just me, and maybe I have that fun level of inability to measure social situations where I don't feel bad being on a whiteboard, but I just don't feel bad being on a whiteboard, Laughs and DP hard. Yeah, I mean, every now and then you get something like that. Whenever someone does a dynamic programming problem, I find that to be ridiculous. Even entry-level there's so many entry-level engineers right now that are getting paid $90,000. A lot of people get nervous. Well, yeah, but that's part of it. That's why you got to practice. I'm not saying no. I'm just simply saying, of course, people get nervous. I get nervous. Everyone gets nervous. That's not the thing because you're there proving. You just have to relax into it and realize you're just going to write the things you know. And also DP, by the way, DP is horrible. Yes, I do agree. Anyone that does dynamic programming problems as part of an interview, they're just bad interviewers. It really doesn't matter what they would do, right? This is the problem that I actually really see with this whole interview crisis that's going on in the tech world. It's not actually about the hard programming problems. I think people are misidentifying it. The people that would go on there and ask a dynamic programming hard problem like coin change or something like that, it doesn't matter what you give them. They're a bad interviewer. No matter what the problem is, no matter how well the interview is set up to make you succeed, they will make you fail because they're bad at interviewing. They're bad at all times for all questions in all places because they don't understand the point of interviewing. And if you don't understand the point of interviewing, you're just gonna be wrong 80%, 90% of the time. They just don't get it. For them, an interview is about completing a problem, and that's it. Companies are overly focused on rigid steps in hiring, whiteboard interviews, timed take-homes, etc. But AI interview assistant tools show that process can be gamed. Well, the process has always been able to be gamed, right? I mean, that's why we have LeetCode. LeetCode literally is the gaming of that process. In fact, not only is it gaming of the process, you even get points and everything. It's a gamified gaming of the process. It's just AI just makes it so that you don't have to work. That's the only difference. People have different strengths. Some shine under pressures, others don't. Some are brilliant coders but freeze during live interviews. Roy, man, look at this. He's yet to spell the guy's name correctly multiple times. Exploits the flaws in assuming one's format can measure all talent equally. Yeah, that's why, I mean, a good myriad of different versions is a good way to kind of assess people's skill. Also, if they have good open source contributions, that should be good enough, right? When media representatives talk with several people from the AI tool in recruiting industry, their perspectives were mostly in favor of advancement. Kiro, founder of Locked-in AI, the tool which was the main inspiration for Roy Lee to create an interview coder, said, "It is just the beginning. Gen AI is moving fast, and tools like this will become smoother and more invisible and more powerful. People have different strengths, and some shine under pressure, others don't." I think that this is only going to get worse. If you think under pressure whiteboard interviews right now are bad, and you think that AI is going to somehow solve it, you're actually very far off. Because the thing that's going to happen in life is that we're going to get more and more information augmented into our reality to the point where those who are good under pressure and are able to get immediate information are going to simply be able to manipulate the situation better and better and better. This is not going anywhere better. This is only going to get worse. You know what the worst part is that those who shine in that world will become kind of the expected. Now, not only do you have to be good on your feet with things you used to memorize and be able to practice, now you have to be good on your feet with things you don't understand. You have to be good in all situations at all times because it has to show how fast you are at adapting to the AI. It's just going to break things in just unusual and worse ways, I think. Good luck, everybody. Good luck, everybody. Some are brilliant coders but freeze during live interviews. We have exposed the flaws of assuming one format can measure all talent equally. Yeah, but this has always been obvious. The thing is that the reason why I defend whiteboard interviews is because whiteboard interviews are somewhat misunderstood also by the interviewee as much as the interviewer, which is the interviewee does not realize that it is a low bar that is set where it is like, can you memorize things? Can you memorize 10 ways to solve a problem? And we're going to give you one of those 10 ways. It doesn't feel anything different than going to calculus and, beating calculus. Calculus was the same thing. Can you do inverse, what's it called? Whatever they call that, the inverse trigonometric calculus integral solving. Can you do just the trigonometric substitution solving? Can you do this one? Can you do that one? Okay, you can do all those. Great. Now here's a problem you haven't seen before. It's like, I've seen these integrations. I've done 1,000 of them. Now I just need to apply it to a new situation. You can tailor Series D's nuts on your chin, all of that. He further added many candidates using interview assistant tools were international students, career switchers, or those with non-traditional backgrounds. Everybody. That's the answer. Okay, I didn't realize that if you were international, someone looking for a new job, or non-traditional background, which can all be boiled down to looking for a new job, switching careers. Classic. Everyone's quick to call out candidates for cheating, but companies also using AI to screen resumes, auto-reject applicants, and even ghost candidates. It's a two-way street. So this is actually such a good point. I love this quote from, who is this one? Keiichiro? Am I saying his name right? Keiichiro? I love this one right here because there's two things here. This is one of those things where you got to hold two things, I think, in your brain at the exact same time. One, I think that companies using AIs to auto-screen, that's bad. I think that you are a bad company. I think you got to come up with better hiring processes. I don't think you should auto-reject candidates. I don't think you should, especially something that has known error built into it. I think that is very, very poor. You don't understand the biases that are built into all these different AI agents. I think it's super stupid. It's just bad. But I'm going to tell you something. That doesn't make saying you know these things, but actually cheating and using something and pretending that you have knowledge you don't, good. We can hold two things in our head at once. Bad does not predicate you doing bad. Call me old-fashioned. I still hold the same brave yet controversial opinion. I don't lie. That's just a bad plan from the beginning. You set yourself up for continuous defense of your bad decisions later on. First off, I think Roy did something amazing. And I think a lot of people don't really realize this, is that he observed a particular feeling amongst a huge amount of people and then was able to take that feeling and translate it into a product that resonated with a lot of people. He did a very amazing job. Now, I'm not saying that the product's good, but I'm just saying to be able to see that in people and make that observation and make something that meets what people, how people feel, it's a super hard skill. And I'm very, very impressed with how much he's been able to make a splash. Now, the real thing is, can Roy do this again? The hard part about what he did is that he mixed rage bait with a good observation. Can he do it again? Can he mix a new observation and maybe no rage bait? Is it just rage bait that he's good at? Because if it's just rage bait that he's good at, then I think long term that technique often doesn't work well. I think there's there's like that in-between ground where you can't always be doing the same thing. You got to give people what they want. I know, and he baited them hard. I mean, bro baited all the dudes on Twitter harder than I've ever seen any man bait all the dudes on Twitter. It was the most amazing thing I've ever seen in my entire lifetime. Bro baited. Dude, he got bro baited. Unironically, I'm very impressed with how well he was able to get an idea out there and have so many people latch onto it. Because like that in of itself as a very black box kind of look at is a very impressive skill. It's actually something everybody should take a bit of a note about like, especially because I know there's a lot of people, like someone just asked, can you please read my article? Why would you ask that? Well, it's because you want to get your thoughts. You're trying to get your thoughts and stuff out there. Like, how do you do that? Well, you have to resonate with people. I think Roy Lee has done something really great because at the end of the day, we're all in the next 10 years going to have to deal with a continuous spree of lying. I think our world is going to go more towards deception and not away from deception, which unfortunately is pretty awful, right? I think we're only going to get more lies. We're not going to get less lies. Sorry for being a downer, but hey, the name. You shouldn't do it. Okay? You shouldn't do it. That's what I'd say. Okay? You can't stop other people from doing it, right? People are, even without AI, people are going to lie to you. People are going to take advantage of the situation. I'm just reading Mistborn right now, and I'm only on chapter 1 with Vin. And what does Vin's big brother say as the very first piece of advice? People are going to backstab you. People are going to cheat you. They're going to lie to you. Even in a fake world, in a fantasy world in which you could write anything, it's still like ever present in every book, in every fantasy. Brandon Sanderson go bing.